Great game in the morning. It's me again. Can't get rid of me today, it seems like. Hey, this is Jonathan Albin, and this is stage 3 of character creation utilizing the NycosRPG system. We're going to be talking about place, and this concept of place is referring to the character's origin in terms of where they came from and what culture they come from. Because although in many RPGs they overlook this or don't play into it, one of the essentials of knowing how to play a character is to have an idea of what he came from, what his background was, how he was treated by his family, what was important to them, and the like. And so by choosing a place to be from, you are setting your character up for success by coming up with the cultural triggers that the player may have actually built into his existence. And so you get to choose from a selection of skills that can be learned based on where you were raised, what kind of culture was around you. And so we have a series of them here, a full spectrum, if you will, of possible backgrounds you might come from. So the first is you might have come from the dynasty, and a dynasty is something that holds family of highest value. Not only are we talking about who your individual parents were, but how your family plays into the tracing growth of the culture as a whole. This is certainly going to be evidenced in many of the Eldrin cultures, as well as some of the Fey creatures like the fair folk. The idea is, therefore, you have a valuation for your character by not only who you are, but how you got there, who your family root members were in the past. This, therefore, gives you a kind of a taste of understanding certain kinds of things. So with a dynasty background, you're going to certainly understand the idea of lineage, of heritage. You will have certainly some skills in research and discovery and reading, perhaps various languages, as your culture moves across space and time. So dynasty is one effective culture to have come from. Perhaps your culture was a form of commune where the membership is voluntary and the objective is to understand and appreciate the wholeness and the fullness of existence. This means that beauty and connection and how beautiful it is to be a part of something is predominant. So perhaps you have picked up some maker's skills through this. Maybe you have an appreciation for what is beautiful, what is not. Maybe you've got an understanding of how to present or to literally sell the concept of what is beautiful. These are all things that might have come through a commune background. Perhaps you came from one of the citadels. A citadel is a place where affluence is the greatest goal. Citadels are going to be highly defended, highly protected locations where people hold onto their belongings, hold value in objects and things. And so you would have a great understanding and appreciation of the material. You would see why you would want to hold onto these things. You might have a understanding of the way money works and how to transfer values over distances and within different commodities. Beyond that, there's also the cynosure. These are physical locations where achievement is the objective. You are there to prove yourself. Perhaps it's a series of arenas or maybe artificial mountains or ritual climbing spaces. These are all ways that you could show your achievements in terms of physical activities, and your position in the culture would be therefore dependent upon how well and how much you appreciate those advances. These are things like tracking who does the best job of hunting, who is the fastest runner, and these kind of functions. Additionally, perhaps you're going to be looking at a background of an enclave. And in enclaves, your position within the culture matters the most. It's pecking order. It's the idea of who has leverage over whom. Where the power is within a culture is something that would be definitely developed here. Perhaps your skills in deception or detection thereof. Maybe your ability to convince or coerce could come into it from the enclave background. On the other hand, perhaps you're from in a refuge, and a refuge is where you've gone to escape from the world and try to understand and integrate your emotional state. So expression becomes of primary importance. Perhaps you want to be a writer of ballads. Perhaps you want to be a singer of songs. The idea of going to a refuge to gain abilities that deal with transmitting emotional experience, expression. Perhaps you are looking for ways to push and manipulate others. There's a dark side to everything, but the idea here is that the refuge is a place where these things can be learned. And then finally, in the case of the academy, then these are places where knowledge is the core measure. The more you know, the more you can converse and share information on particular subjects, the greater you are. Perhaps these are great libraries or museums or places where they record and maintain histories. These are all ways that an academy can help with the development of your knowledge background. So by having a variety such as these, you can have a collection of skills that come from those particular places. Now, because culture is only a portion of what drives us, the effectiveness of each of those is dependent on what you choose to do with it. Perhaps you are actually building the idea of your culture as something you wish to rebel against. If that's the case, of course, then the skills you pick up are going to be incidental, and they're not even going to necessarily be priority things. They may be antithetical to the very cultural source you came from. But by choosing a place, you pick up a couple of intrinsic skills that you would have gotten just by being around it, and thereby give you a kind of a feel for whether you like the place or hate it or whatever, and therefore gives you some of the beginnings of what will later develop into motivation. So this is stage 3. All you do is pick one of these, and then you get a couple of skills from each one. We'll be on to stage 4 in just a moment. I want to thank you for watching these. If you haven't seen stage 1 and stage 2, there'll be a link up here that lets you get to those. Also, this entire series is going to be its own playlist, which is the How to Play playlist for NycosRPG. Make sure you check those out. I want to thank you for your time being with us today. If you enjoyed what you've seen, make sure you like and follow and do all that good stuff, push the buttons and all of that, because it really helps us get this word out to other people. And if not, I thank you for your time spent watching me, and great to have you with us, and I'll see you in the next episode.